live. Thank you for tuning into the program. Let's get right down to, to this story. In a desperate effort to get the Georgia case thrown out, on behalf of Donald Trump, his lawyers are accusing the Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis of racial amicus toward him. Attorneys for the former president want a Georgia appellate court to remove the Fulton County District Attorney from the 2020 election interference case. Isn't this something? A racist in chief is accusing a black woman who he hates and despises. He's probably called her a whole lot of names. And one day, it's going to be an open mic, and you're going to slip up. And what's in his heart is going to come right out of his mouth for the whole world to hear. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. Quote, close quote, Bible. Remember that. Can't hide it. Whatever's in you, it's going to come out of you. So let's get into this. According to the Washington Post, and I'll give my commentary as I go along. Attorneys for Donald Trump pressed a Georgia appellate court to remove Fulton County District Attorney Fani T. Willis, who is a Democrat, from the 2020 election interference case, accusing her of repeated public display of racial amicus toward the former president and his co-defendants, which they contend has jeopardized Trump's right to a fair trial. Are you serious? I know people every day who have a so-called white jury. They call it a so-called jury of their peers. Every time a black person gets charged with a crime, they always get a bunch of white people sitting in the jury box who convict them. That's called racism. The fix is in even before they get to court. And this man who has openly displayed his disdain through racism and bigotry toward the Fulton County District Attorney is now crying racism. Isn't this the pot calling the kettle black? In a Monday filing, Trump's attorneys Steve Sadow, Jennifer Little, and Matthew Winchester argued that the Georgia Court of Appeals should disqualify Fani and her office from the case and dismiss the charges against Trump. They accused the longtime prosecutor, who is black, of intentional injection of false allegations of racism into the proceedings that they say has tainted the case. Lie. Outright lie. The filing comes as Trump and 8 co-defendants accused of illegally conspiring to try to overturn his 2020 election loss in Georgia have asked the court to reverse a lower court decision keeping Willis and her office on the case. The initial effort to remove Willis was based on claims that she engaged in an improper relationship with an outside lawyer she appointed to lead the investigation, kind of like the adulterous affair that he was involved in going up to the 2016 election. Kind of like that, right? These people always cry foul, but they never want to talk about the malicious intent that they have with the vitriol behind their words and hiding behind their attorneys. The attorneys that he won't pay anyway. And this is how individuals constantly call themselves getting justice for who? For what? Because he certainly is not falsely being taken advantage of in the courts. But Trump and the others have also argued that the Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee erred in not disqualifying Willis over remarks she made in a January 14 speech at a historic black church in Atlanta, where she suggested that a criticism of her and then Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade was racially motivated. It was racially motivated. Point blank, he didn't like the fact that a black woman who happens to be a district attorney was overseeing the case, and he didn't want her on the case. That's a stipulated fact. It's also a stipulated fact that every decision that this man makes is selfishly motivated. He doesn't want to be held accountable like everyday citizens are. In his March ruling, McAfee, the presiding judge on the case, called Willis's speech legally improper, but also said it was unclear whether her remarks had met a legal standard for forensic misconduct by a prosecutor. Point blank. If any other person had been alleged to have committed the crimes that this man is allegedly being made to have committed, that person would have been arrested a long time ago, tried and convicted, and especially if they were black. If former President Barack Obama had done all this same mess that this man is doing, Barack Obama would have been arrested and tried without hesitation, without delay. Willis did not refer to Trump or any of his co-defendants by name in the January speech, and prosecutors have argued that she was responding to her political critics. But Trump's attorneys called that claim disingenuous and accused Willis of using that speech and other public remarks to falsely depict Trump, his co-defendants, and their attorneys as racist. And they are, the same way he keeps attacking Kamala Harris. Him and his attorneys are racist. Point blank. Bottom line, they are racist and they're bigoted. Willis falsely declared that allegations against her stemmed from racism to hide the fact that they were true. Trump's attorney wrote in the filing. Willis obviously intended that every potential Fulton County juror who heard or read Willis's racist speech would label the defendants as racist. I'm a criminal justice major and a pre-law student. Let me tell you something. I can see straight through this garbage that they're trying to pull. Adjust your volume. I can see straight through this garbage that they are trying to pull, and it's not going to work. Any and everything that they try, it always comes down to he's being persecuted, he's being taken advantage of, he's being treated unfair. Thank you. He's being treated unfair. The attorneys argued that Willis deliberately chose to play the race card. Damn right, I would play it. In a calculated effort to bring public condemnations against the accused and deflect public attention away from herself, and that it was a calculated and deliberate plan to prejudice the accused. Well, let me check this out. Don't they play the racist card and the bigoted card toward the group of people that they want to reach? The white supremacists, stirring them up all over the land? See, they can't take the medicine that they continuously dish out to other people. They don't like to be criticized because they have thin skin. You hide behind all the lawyers that people want to hide behind. At the end of the day, if crimes were committed, one must pay. The elected district attorney of Fulton County, with news outlets trailing her every move, intentionally injecting false racist claims in a black church before potential black jurors who were celebrating MLK Jr. blocks from where he lived his entire life in Fulton County, is quintessentially egregious, the attorney wrote. First of all, they're not going to have any black jurors on his trial anyway. You can believe that. Every potential black juror, they will strike down. He's going to have an all-white jury like all white people do. And she has the right to go to a black church and say whatever she wants to say, whether they agree to it or not. She's a black woman, and if she wants to go to a black church and talk about the issue, she has the right to go to a black church and say whatever she wants to say, the same way they tweet what they want to tweet, the same way that they say everything that they want to say. Black people, we got the same right. Don't apologize for what you say what you mean what you say. A spokesman for Willis declined to comment. Prosecutors have pushed the appellate court to reject efforts by Trump and his co-defendants to overturn McAfee's decision, keeping Willis on the case. In his March 15 order, the judge found the defendants had not proved their claims that Willis had improperly benefited from Wade's hiring or any other disqualifying behavior. But McAfee did find significant appearance of impropriety and ruled that either Willis and her office or Wade had to leave the case. Wade resigned later that day. The only mistake that she made was getting involved with him. Should have never done it. Point blank. And a good brother, once again, was verbally castrated by a bunch of racists. But please don't talk about the adultery that he has committed over and over again. Then people get upset and wonder why you're talking about, because he keeps talking about what other people are doing. Trump's filing on Monday was a response to an August 5th prosecution brief that called attention to a footnote in McAfee's March ruling that questioned whether Trump and some of his co-defendants had standing to challenge Willis's January remarks. At the time the speech was given, only co-defendant Mickey Roman, who was the first to level charges of misconduct against Willis, had filed to disqualify her and her office from the case, McAfee noted. The appellants complained that the district attorney made these comments in response to their motions to disqualify. However, at the time the speech was delivered, only appellant Roman had actually filed a motion, and none of the other appellants had joined in. Prosecutors wrote in their August 5th filing. The appellant ignored this issue. Joining in the motion after the speech was delivered does not change the content of the district attorney's statements at the time they were made. On Monday, Trump's attorneys argued that their clients has standing to challenge the speech because he was injured. Oh, whatever, man, please. By Willis's remarks, invoking racism in part because national local media outlets broadcast and reported Willis's claims as an attack against the defense, though the brief does not cite any specific examples of that reporting. Well, all black people across the nation know what type of person we're dealing with. Willis knew what she was doing and got precisely the reaction she wanted. The overwhelming media coverage of her false and pernicious subterfuge, which slandered the defendants before the entire nation, the attorneys wrote. Isn't that what the Trump campaign does every single day through his Truth Social? Slam people, try to humiliate and embarrass people over and over and over again. The appellate court has scheduled oral arguments on the appeal for December 5, 1 month after Election Day, when both Willis and Trump will be on the Fulton County ballot. Oh, isn't that something? A 3-judge panel selected to hear the case. Trenton Brown, Todd Markle, and Benjamin A. Land has 2 full terms to issue a ruling, a period that would end in the first week of March. Trump and his 14 allies are charged with illegally conspiring to overturn his 2020 election loss in Georgia and face several charges, including racketeering. In June, the appellate court formally stayed the case against Trump and the 8 co-defendants seeking to remove Willis as it considers the appeal, a decision that has essentially frozen the entire case. It's called the name and blame game that goes on over and over and over again. And he claims that he's leading in all the polls, which is a lie. He's not leading in all the polls, and he never will be leading in all the polls again. It's not going to happen. Never surrender. Never quit.